When you're talking to a head of marketing, what is your pitch to them to say, hey, branding is important, and this is why you need to be spending some of your marketing dollars on brand support?
I think the importance of brand and how you justify investing in branding versus more low funnel tactics live in a few places. It goes back to the role of brand long term for creating that prospect customer loyalty, for creating that employee and talent loyalty, and then the long term valuation of your organization. You can't lose sight of those things. A brand, unfortunately, is not built overnight. That consistent presence of your brand, your story, who you are, why you're important is really important for those three things. But the other piece I think that is important when we look at a lot of the programs we do for our critical brand clients, we've started to see this kind of direct correlation between brand activity and lower funnel activity. We call it brand demand, and how the ability to kind of warm the door with brand, and that's not just brand name recognition. I want to be really clear on that point. This is about true understanding of what that brand stands for and why you're important and why you matter, not just logo recognition. When you are able to couple that in the right kind of content and channels with channels that really drive that demand side of things. Paid search is an easy one to pick on, right? That really helps capture those hand raisers as they're shopping, as they're researching, as they're educating. The combination of those two things working together really allows you to kind of leapfrog in from a consideration set a little bit. And lastly, I think this is one of the hardest pieces. In rich, fat times, it's super easy to invest in brand. When obviously, when you live in times of uncertainty, it can be really hard. There's been a lot of data that we learned through the last recession, 2007, 2008. Those brands that stayed in market and invested in not just kind of the products and solutions, but invested in making sure people understood who they were and what they stood for, those brands fared far better in that economy coming out of that recession than those who didn't. And while it can be incredibly hard to stay the course on that when you see the pressures in terms of keeping your brand out there and present, shutting it off and the resources and dollars it requires to turn it back on and get it back to the levels that you were at before you decided to cut back that spend can almost be harder to do. And what you then see is brands can't come out of that hole they've kind of dug for themselves.